Hello, YouTube family members and friends.
Good morning.
We're at Boyce Thompson Arboretum. That's what it's called, the Boyce Thompson Arboretum. And it is a desert arboretum. And why are we here today, dear?
To learn about harvesting prickly pear cactus.
Yes, we didn't know much about prickly pear until we came to Arizona.
Exactly.
And they are delicious.
We love prickly pear ice cream and the juice. It's super good for you. Nopales, the paddles, we use them in our cooking and salads. We had to learn all about it. So here we are today taking a class.
Yes, they're doing a class on how to harvest them and how to juice them, and then we'll get to sample the juice afterwards.
My favorite part.
Yes. Boyce Thompson Arboretum is one of the oldest botanical institutions west of the Mississippi. Founded in 1924 as a desert plant research facility and living museum, the Arboretum is just off Highway 60, about an hour's drive east of Phoenix, near the base of Picket Post Mountain. The Arboretum has over 2,600 species of arid land plants from around the world. Today, however, we were only interested in the prickly pear cactus. There was no charge for the class, but we did have to pay for admission. We met our instructors at the visitor center and then headed off down the trail. Prickly pear cacti are everywhere in the deserts of the southwest U.S. Many people harvest prickly pear in the wild. Just be sure you have the landowner's permission or a permit from the appropriate public lands agency. About the only equipment you need is a set of kitchen tongs, a food-grade bucket for carrying your harvest, some gloves, and appropriate clothing. Like most cactus, prickly pear are covered with long spines. The fruit, sometimes called tuna, also have hair-like tufts of tiny, barbed spines known as glockids. You do not want to get these on your skin because they are very irritating and hard to remove. A good tip we learned from our instructor was to lightly brush the fruit with branches from the desert broom plant before you start picking. This gives you a good start at removing the glockids from the fruit. Look for fruit that are a little larger than an egg and completely red, especially at the ends. Grab the fruit with your tongs and use a twisting motion to remove it from the cactus paddle. If it's ripe, it should come off easily. Drop it in your bucket and move on to the next fruit. Do not harvest fruit off the ground. It most likely already has bugs and critters in it. Focus your harvest on the upper parts of the plant, leaving the lower fruit for wildlife to eat and spread seeds. Once you've got enough fruit, it's time to start prepping the fruit for processing. The first step is to remove the rest of the glockids from the fruit. There are several methods, but the one they use here at the Arboretum is kinda unique.
And those hairs, those are the tiny hairs we're talking about, okay? They're actual spines, and so that's what we call glockids. Now, there are several ways to do this, but the whole point is glockid removal, glockid removal, glockid removal. That's what you're trying for, okay?
Before you ever get to any other processing.
And it's all about glockid removals. One of our colleagues will take the tunas, put them in a big cooler the night before with some ice and water. It softens the tunas, and then he is able to strain the juice, leaving the glockids behind. That's one way. Another way to do it, which involves
The kind of preferred way, it seems like, especially if you're going to use them fresh, and the fresher the better. So if you're going to harvest and clean them the same day, so you can step back just a little bit here.
They're coming your way.
They're going to roll that direction, unfortunately.
Okay, if you step on a couple of them, don't worry, it's not lost. But you want to rake, okay, so you'll want to use your driveway, concrete is what I'm after.
Sweep it off or wash it off
Sweep it
first.
off, wash it off, exactly. And then pour a small pile of the fruit on the concrete. The rough surface of the concrete is enough to knock the glockids off, okay? We don't have concrete here, so we're using what we've got, okay? But you'll see here.
Now this is a little rougher than necessary, but it works. Might take a little more raking on your concrete than what it would do to get it done, but I still say about 10 to 15 minutes of raking a little pile like this and you're good.
You can tell by looking at the skin and seeing that all the white tufts are gone. After that, it's on to juicing. Before you start juicing, give the fruit one last rinse to wash off any dirt or other debris. There's no reason to remove the skin or seeds, as it will all be strained out. For the workshop, they used a vegetable juicer that separates the juice from the skin and seeds, but they said you could use a blender to pulverize the fruit. The next step is to take your juice and strain it. You can use cheesecloth, but they highly recommend using a white, dye-free pillowcase. It does a better job of straining, and because of its shape, it's easier to squeeze the pulp to get all of the juice. If the juice is too thick, you can strain it 1 or 2 more times. The juice is a deep ruby red. The flavor of prickly pear juice is unique. It's not overly sweet and has kind of an earthy watermelon taste. You can drink the juice straight or use it to flavor all sorts of things. We especially like prickly pear ice cream. We'll put in a link to our visit to TOPO, a local restaurant where we tried their version. In addition to tasting really good, the juice has a number of health benefits. It's high in fiber and low in calories, helps control blood sugar, has antiviral properties, and is an anti-inflammatory. While the juice tastes best when it's fresh, it freezes wonderfully, which is helpful because the harvesting season is short. Well, that was interesting. Now we know everything there is to know about harvesting prickly pear tunas. The little fruits are actually called tunas.
And the paddles are actually called nopales.
Yeah. And we know if we ever want to, how to go get a permit and go out in the wild and pick them, and then they said rake them on the driveway to get all the needles and stuff off. I'm thinking we'll probably go to Food City and skip that part and then just juice them. But there is a big difference in drinking the juiced fruit. The way we used to do it was to take all the skin off, but we found that we lose a lot of the juice.
Yeah.
So now
we'll be juicing ours with the skin on now and the seeds.
Yes. So we can hardly wait. We look forward to having more prickly pear juice because now is prickly pear season. Into August and September is the best time to get them. So we'll be heading to the store and look for some now.
Right. And we've been in the store. We've seen prickly pear juice. It's very expensive. One of the jars I saw was like $47.
Yeah.
But after taking this class and seeing the amount of work and prep and all that they do for prickly pear juice, it kind of justifies to us why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But we want to kind of grow our own. We have a backyard. We want to have prickly pear in our yard and maybe someday have our own fruit. We know what to do with it now, but it gives us a new appreciation too for the amount of work that goes into harvesting.
But as with all things, we thank God for all the blessings that He's given us, even prickly pear. But we know that ultimately it's not for our good, but for His glory.